Good evening, welcome to Central News for Wednesday the 27th of November. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Residents in the Hamilton, Waikato and Waipa districts are being asked to limit the use of sprinkler systems following today's introduction of Water Alert Level 1. Water Alert Level 1 means residents can use their sprinklers between 6 to 8 am and 6 to 8 pm with handheld hoses allowed at any time. Hamilton City Council's City Waters Manager, Andrew Parsons, says Alert Level 1 has been put in place at this early stage because recent water demand is a lot higher than what is usually expected for November, even with the rainfall on Tuesday. Hamilton Zoo's new baby bison went on display last weekend for the first time. The month-old male calf was born on the 22nd of October to mother Miliana and his father Kaya, two of the 4 adult North American bisons in the zoo's 6-strong herd. Hamilton Zoo curator Sam Kuduwe says the new arrival has quickly put on weight since his birth and now clocks in at about 60 kilograms, more than twice his birth rate. Mrs. Kuduwe says Hamilton Zoo is the only New Zealand zoo to hold and display these impressive and iconic animals, as the bison was hunted heavily during the 19th century and underwent a drastic decline in population. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, your Thursday will have mostly showers with a chance of some heavy ones. Your expected high is 23 and an overnight low of 12. Tauranga, early rain and it's going to ease to a few showers. Your expected high is 24 and an overnight low of 14. Just ahead, the plans for the Western Bay's economy in the future. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. Priority One's business case is a campaign aimed at attracting business to the Western Bay of Plenty. 2 large firms have moved here this year, so how will they continue to attract and retain business in Western Bay for the future?
We've got our Tauranga business case, business attraction campaign, which is now, we've just been through 2 years with that. So we will continue what we've done the last couple of years, which is to have a regional focus over the Christmas period when we capture those, the eyes of those people that are here on holiday, and we've always generated between 5 and 6 inquiries from businesses through that. We want to have continue our emphasis on Auckland and making people up there aware of what's happening in Tauranga and what the opportunities right across the Western Bay of Plenty are in terms of business relocations and expansion. And over the next 12 to 18 months, really target the eastern seaboard of Australia. We've had FSP Plastics established in Hewletts Road here from Brisbane, and they're very impressed with what Tauranga has delivered to their business. They're already talking to businesses in Australia in a similar geography to them about the strengths such as the port, for instance, our transport infrastructure, access to skilled people and their lifestyle. And we've got several inquiries as a consequence, and I think we can step that up by lifting our visibility over there.
And how are you trying to increase the visibility over in Australia?
That'll be taking a targeted approach to businesses that would find competitive strengths in our region, so food processing, logistics and distribution, so import and export businesses, and generally manufacturing businesses who are export focused would find real competitive strength in being located in a place like Tauranga or even other parts of the Western Bay of Plenty.
The goal is to create a university city. How's that going to be achieved?
It's been an ongoing project with a number of partners, and Priority One is one of those organisations working with Smart Growth and our City Council as examples, but particularly alongside the Bay of Plenty Tertiary Partnership, and that is to grow our tertiary delivery in areas that are important to us as a region, and that's the broader Bay of Plenty region. So the partnership has secured a commitment from the Regional Council Regional Infrastructure Fund for 15 million after quite a large amount of work in that. And work now continues for balancing 15 million from another regional funding agency, and that's an application is well and truly in progress for that. Once we've got that secured, combined with the land from the Tauranga City Council has granted to the Tertiary Partnership for 30 years, we're confident that we'll see the campus development start to happen in our city centre. ambition, and it may be ambitious, is to see the first building opening for the 2018 year, but more realistically it might be a year later than that, but still very hopeful that things are on track to deliver that.
What else will have to be done to be able to house all these students in the city centre?
Clearly, student accommodation will be important, and there's a big component of the success of that campus will be international students, so it's that accommodation plus pastoral care. Already we've had one organisation that's committed to developing a student accommodation block in close proximity to the city centre. And providing the pastoral care as well. So we'll see more of that as the news starts to unfold around progression of the campus. We'll have a lot of interest around that.
What is happening with the Tauranga City Centre strategy?
The strategy is Tauranga City's strategy, of course, so they are responsible for its implementation. Progressing strongly. Look at the waterfront development down there. We know we've got issues around earthquake retrofitting, so council's working with the development community to understand how they can incentivise new development and progress that rapidly. We're seeing Tainui are in the throes of their due diligence process for an international 4-star hotel, and council are working hard and fast alongside Tainui to see how that can be brought to fruition, because it's a key piece of infrastructure we really need here. So there's a number of initiatives, and developers have, I'm aware of at least 3 new office buildings in planning, and one of which will house the Trustpower team from Tamonga into the city centre, and that's potentially 300 to 400 people. So a lot happening, and look at the Strand, we're seeing a lot of development along there with new restaurants and bars, Macau, Brew, the Phoenix, Comida, Takara. All new to the waterfront there, so pretty exciting and vibrant at the moment, yeah.
Does the city centre have the infrastructure to deal with that many more people in the centre?
Oh, easily. We've had them and more before. Of course, there's been quite a transition of people over the last decade or so out of the city centre into commercial developments, and particularly retail that's grown outside. What we're seeing now is consolidation back into the city centre. And of course, with the addition of a university campus, those students, particularly international students, don't have cars. So they'll be looking for accommodation in proximity to the city, and that's the real opportunity, I think.
How's the Harbour Central Marine Precinct progressing?
The Tauranga City Council did apply to the Regional Infrastructure Fund run by the Regional Council for seeking $5 million to catalyse development of that precinct. They were successful, still awaiting the terms and conditions around that, but certainly there's a strong willingness by council in partnership with industry to bring a marine precinct that will service commercial vessels and ultimately a level of super yacht business down there at Sulphur Point.
Coming up next, Transition, a Sustainable Future. Welcome back. Transition Towns is a grassroots movement that started in 2006. Joining me in studio tonight is Gord Stewart to help us find out about this movement. Welcome, Gord. So what is Transition Towns and what is the aim?
Well, Transition Towns, it's really based on a couple of facts. One, that the climate's changing and we've got some serious challenges ahead. The second one is that we're really coming to the end of oil that's easy and cheap, to get at. And I think in New Zealand, the fracking that we're doing in riskier places and the really deep sea drilling are good examples of kind of where we're going that way. Because of these two things, we really have to plan for a future with dramatically lower energy consumption. And with that, it's a lot better to kind of plan ahead for it than be taken by surprise. And a big part of it is going to be resilient and stable local communities so they're ready for the changes. There are 2,000 transition towns or groups around the world, 65 in New Zealand, and we think that Matamata should be number 66.
So what does a sustainable future mean?
That's in a nutshell. I would say it means that humans and all species on the planet are flourishing. We're living within the boundaries of nature, and 7 generations from now, things are going to be ticking along quite nicely.
Do you think that's achievable?
I think there's optimism there, and we have the skills and the tools to do it. We need the, I guess, political will and more understanding and education so that everybody can get involved.
Can you give us some examples of what, some of these other 65 communities in New Zealand kind of do?
When we had our meeting, we've had 2 meetings in November, and we invited 3 folks over from Thames who are quite active, and they told us what they're doing there. Some exciting things. They've done installation 350 homes at no cost to the owner or tenant. So they've arranged that. They're also doing bulk buying of solar panels, and they have a really great program on planting fruit nut trees on public lands, and they're doing that in cooperation with the local council. In Tauranga, they have an awesome monthly film night. They have workshops. They also have a fruit project, and they have a sustainable homes initiative. Around the country, I mean, it varies from place to place, and the beauty of this is nobody tells you what to do. You really just, communities get on with it and decide what are the needs and interests, and you do it. There've been wind energy in some places, time banks, so that people can say what their skills are and trade off skills, local currencies, because a big part of it is supporting local businesses, so that a local currency is really a part of that. In Auckland, there are 9 communities, and they have traffic calming, community gardens, so there's no shortage of really exciting things happening.
Is there much money that needs to be going into these things, or is it kind of getting back to those basics where it's about trading goods, not?
Well, that is part of it. I mean, the trading and the local, focusing on the local, and looking for example, local and organic produce in areas, and the use of community gardens. And in New Zealand, we have in Matamata, there's a great food bank. Here, there is a community garden. There are lots of people and we live in the country, and we have more than we can handle on our own property. We take plums to the food bank, and I think a lot of it is just mobilizing people and sharing around of things. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive.
And is it a bit about people simply not knowing that they could be donating these goods to food banks or sharing them?
Yeah, I think it is, and that's a big part of what Transition Matamata will be about, in the way it is in other places. Is people might think they'd like to do that, but it's too hard to do. So if you can set it up in a way that it's really simple for people, if they know they've got too much, they can take it somewhere. It's going to get to somebody else who can use it or who wants it. So it's really a matter of just making those connections, and it's the beauty of doing it in small communities, because those connections are all close by.
And so you did recently have these 2 meetings. So what was discussed about energy and resources there?
So there were a few things, and I have my notes because I don't want to miss any of the good ones. Some of the things that came out that we want to look at certainly in the new year, promoting efficient energy actions at home and work. I mean, really simple things, and we hear about it on TV, and turning off the lights and putting on another jersey instead of turning the heat up, and turning off all your electronic stuff when you're not using it. Really simple stuff like that can make a big difference and save people a lot of money. So we want to get in and promote that as well. The insulation thing is a huge one. There are lots of houses still that don't have as much insulation as they could, and when they do, there are immediate energy cost savings, and there are improvements in health as well. So that's a really important one. We are, like Thames, want to look at bulk buying and making it easy for people who want to do solar installs on home retrofits or new construction. But even simpler than that is energy efficient light bulbs, and setting up a system where make it really easy for people to do that. Because again, massive energy savings. Some policies that we'd like to push, for example, water tanks and small solar systems on all new construction. I mean, it would make a huge amount of sense. So there are things different, some that are quite easy and simple to do, and others that are going to have to push the politicians to make changes, but it all adds up.
So is Transition Town a political movement, or is it more?
No, it isn't a political movement. I mean, there will be things, like Thames, there are lots of things that we could do to support what the local council is doing and work with other groups. So it's in no way political. It's really about the environment and about the future, and caring about our kids and the future they're going to have, and helping people do things that will really create that future that we all want.
Why do you think some people are reluctant to kind of live a more sustainable life?
I've thought a lot about that, and I don't know that it's really a reluctance on people's part. I think it's more, there are lots of people that are living quite sustainably and living simply and living the way we need to in the future. I think it's not a reluctance so much as people haven't thought about it. The whole message of sustainability is enough, and we're bombarded with advertising every day that tells us what we need is more. And I think that, you know, the research tells us, and more people are learning, that more and more stuff reaches the point of diminishing returns and doesn't increase happiness. And I think there are more people getting that, and really perhaps going back to the way things were a long time ago, a little bit simpler and less stuff and just enjoying life. And that's really a part of the message of Transition Towns.
Well, thank you very much, Gord. Now, if you would like to find out more, you can check in the local papers, but we will also be doing more with Transition Towns. Coming up next, The Orphan Lady. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Orphans Aid International is a charitable trust founded and run by people who care about the marginalised and disadvantaged among us. Co-founder and CEO Sue Van Schreven features in a documentary, The Orphan Lady, which follows her journey into Romania and her efforts to help abandoned children. The Orphan Lady will be screening on TV Central, and we caught up with Sue to hear more. Here is part 2 of their interview. So tell me what happened. You go to Romania, you see these children struggling. Where do you go from there into setting up this orphanage?
Yeah, well, you look at them and you think, man, if that was my child, and at that point my children were a very similar age, if that was my child, I'd do anything for that child. What would you not do if it was your child? You'd, you know, run naked down the street, you'd go to Parliament, you'd do anything because your child needs help. So I looked at these children and think, we need to really help these kids, so what is it that we're going to do? So to cut a long story short, we ended up on that first trip saying we would purchase a property, and I wasn't sure how we would do that, but it came together. It came together with the help of a church in Invercargill, so that was really awesome. I thought we would have to, you know, sell our home for that, but it came together. Came back home though and thought, right, okay, we've now got some children, we've now got a team, we're registered as a charity in Romania, we need some money. And I thought, you know, the money would be quite simple, I thought, but it actually really wasn't. And, you know, there was a lot of sleepless nights to start with, because we needed $5,000 a month just for the first children and the staff and the cost of running a home, in a large home in a cold environment. You've got heating bills, you've got all sorts of things. Food, you need to buy food, you know, you need to buy clothes. And yeah, those first 6 months or so, the first 8 months, were really hairy of how can we get the funds to run this home. And some people did get on board, but it was like people were watching to see what you were doing as well, because you were just a new charity. You know, who's Orphans Aid International back, you know, 9.5 years ago? We were unknown. Actually, and we got some help at that time through the Vodafone Foundation. They actually supported me financially with a wage for a year. So that was a major breakthrough for us, because now I actually had some money to go and visit the orphanage, and I also, worst case scenario, I could give my wage to, you know, to keeping the home going. So just slowly but surely, things, the finances started to come, and then we made a lot of trips back initially when things were very young. And but it's established now. We've got a great team over there. We still want to go back, but we don't need to go quite as often as we needed to start with.
What goes into, I mean, were the Romanian government okay with you trying to set up an orphanage in their place as a foreigner and that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, we partner with great Romanian people, so it's officially a Romanian foundation in Romania. And, you know, we didn't do a lot of the talking to start with, our Romanian friends did. And I think if we had tried, we wouldn't have got very far. But we had good partners, you know, and we're working together side by side. And, you know, we're still working with the same people, and they do a really brilliant job. So it's been a great partnership.
So you reside back here in New Zealand?
Yes, we live in Queenstown. We started in Invercargill, so good old Invercargill, you know, great community, got behind all those sausage sizzles, and, you know, lawyer who set it all up for us, and just, yeah, got grassroots, got our first op shop going in Invercargill, and we now are based in Queenstown, where we have a shop there as well. And of course we now have a shop in Tauranga as well, which is fantastic. It's our most northern shop, and we're very proud of it. It's in Willow Street, 117 Willow Street. great. So what that shop actually does is help us fund our work as well. So a lot of items have come from our projects which we sell there, like beads from Africa, bags from India, jute bags from India, and it helps us feed back to our projects. But it's run by volunteers, so we have a wonderful volunteer base in Tauranga. So thank you to all those volunteers. If you're listening, we really appreciate you. And also those that donate goods. So it is an op shop, but it has a lot of new stock as well. So we get a lot of really good stock donated. So if anyone wants to help in a really practical way, obviously there's donations that they can make through our website, or especially with Christmas, we send a lot of extra money for orphanages at Christmas. But our shop is always after good quality stock. So if you're having a clean out, you've got something that you think, hey, this is a really cool item, too good to throw out. Think of the Orphans Aid op shop. It's at 117 Willow Street, Tauranga.
So this is the second documentary that's been made about the orphanage. How did that come about?
Well, that's been awesome actually. Yeah, Rob Harley has made both of them. He's become a very good friend. He's our patron of Orphans Aid. He actually came with me to Romania on very early on. Vodafone actually sent him to do a little wee bit of filming. He joined us in the Vodafone Foundation, joined us in Romania, and of course he came into the hospital with me one day and saw this child, Serena, who features on the documentary. And I remember Rob just coming out in perspiration, and we were all just so grieved about these children that were left in this room. And Rob got some good footage of what was going on there, came back to New Zealand and began to work on how he could put together a documentary on this, which of course he presented to TV, and the rest is history. So, and then of course the stories of those children that were in the first documentary are now featured in the latest documentary, The Orphan Lady, and it also shows our work in other countries as well. So really good overview of the work, but also great to see the stories of the children who we've helped versus the children that we met at that time and weren't able to help, and their lives have really gone in different directions, and it's really motivating to think, man, we can really help these kids. There's so much more we can do.
So the second one maybe a little bit more happier than the first one.
Yeah. Well, there's probably more outcomes, and the first one was just kind of as it was at the beginning. Without the follow through, we'd rescued children, but we hadn't seen them 5-6 years down the track. So now we've got a little bit of history. We can see what's happening. And as I said to Luminita, one of the key people in our home, one day we'll go to the weddings of these kids. We'll go to weddings of kids once left to die, and it's going to be so exciting.
The Orphan Lady will be screening on TV Central on Tuesday the 24th of December at 10:30pm, Thursday the 26th of December at 12pm and Friday the 27th of December at 7:30pm. So make sure you tune in. That is the program for today. Email us or like us on Facebook and let us know if you have any of your own news you would like us to cover. Thanks for joining us. I will be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around our regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.